What should have been a night of celebration for the Cleveland Browns exploded into one of the ugliest scandals the NFL has seen in years. Insiders say the locker room didn't just heat up after the win, it detonated. And at the center of it all, a rookie quarterback making history. And a teammate who allegedly lost everything in the span of one game. By the time the cameras stopped rolling, the victory was over, but the real story was just beginning. It was supposed to be just another preseason test, the kind of game where rookies prove they belong and veterans sharpen their edge. The Browns had been riding a wave of hype all week, especially with Shedeur Sanders stepping into the spotlight. Fans had been buzzing since training camp, wondering if the young quarterback could handle the pressure of the NFL stage. And on this night, Sanders didn't just handle it, he owned it. From the first snap, it was clear he wasn't playing like a rookie. His passes were sharp, his decision-making almost surgical. He threaded the ball through tight coverage, kept the offense moving, and showed a poise that had even the commentators shaking their heads. Social media lit up with clips of his throws, some calling it the start of a new era in Cleveland. The scoreboard agreed. By the end of the game, the Browns had secured a decisive win, and Sanders was being hailed as the future. But while the crowd roared and the cameras followed Sanders off the field, there was another story brewing, one that no one watching on TV could see. Sources inside the locker room later claimed that not everyone was celebrating. In fact, some players felt like the night had exposed more than just Sanders' talent, it had exposed cracks in the team's chemistry. The whispers started almost immediately. One veteran reportedly felt overshadowed, his role shrinking in front of thousands of fans. Another player who had been a starter for years was suddenly facing the reality that a rookie might be about to take his spotlight. And when emotions mix with adrenaline after a game, things can get volatile fast. By the time reporters were allowed inside, the tension was thick enough to feel in the air. Sanders, still in his pads, tried to keep his focus on the positive, answering questions about the game and deflecting praise onto his teammates. But just behind him, away from the cameras, voices were rising. What started as a few sharp words between players reportedly escalated into a full-on shouting match. One insider described it as the kind of moment you can't walk back. Whatever was said in that heated exchange didn't just disappear when the locker room cleared. It lingered. And as the night went on, rumors began spilling out. Twitter accounts claimed they'd heard about an incident involving a key player. Anonymous posts hinted that someone might even be facing team discipline. The celebration was over, replaced by an undercurrent of uncertainty. Sanders had given Cleveland fans a reason to believe in the future, but in the process, he may have lit a fire under the very people meant to be his allies. And while the public still saw nothing but smiles in the highlight reels, those who were there knew the truth. This wasn't just a post-game disagreement. This was the moment the Browns season took a turn no one could have predicted. And the most shocking part? This was only the beginning. What happened next didn't make the broadcast, and it didn't appear in the post-game press conferences. But if the reports from inside the Browns facility are even half true, this wasn't just a verbal clash, it was the kind of confrontation that changes careers. Multiple sources have now claimed that Gabriel, the veteran quarterback who entered training camp as the presumed starter, had been simmering for weeks. He'd seen his reps in practice cut back. He'd watched the coaching staff give Sanders more first-team snaps. And every time Sanders delivered another pinpoint throw in a scrimmage, it was another reminder that the rookie's star was rising and Gabriel's grip on the job was slipping. According to one team insider, Gabriel didn't storm out of the stadium after the loss of his starting role. He stayed. He waited, and when Sanders came into the locker room post-game, still in high spirits from the win, Gabriel allegedly made his move. The confrontation began quietly. A few sharp words about rookie luck and media hype. Sanders, by all accounts, tried to brush it off, keeping his focus on undressing and talking with other teammates. But Gabriel pressed on. His voice got louder, his tone sharper. What happened next depends on who you believe. Some players say Gabriel grabbed Sanders by the shoulder, spinning him around to face him. Others claim it was more aggressive, a shove into the nearby lockers that made helmets rattle on their hooks. The room immediately shifted. Teammates stepped between them, hands up, trying to de-escalate. But Gabriel wasn't letting it go. His frustration had boiled over into something more dangerous. One witness told a local reporter off the record that Sanders' calm in that moment was almost unsettling. He didn't swing back. He didn't raise his voice. He simply looked Gabriel in the eye and said, "The field decides, not you." That single sentence delivered with composure might have been more cutting than anything else he could have said. Security staff were reportedly called to ensure things didn't escalate further. By that point, Gabriel had retreated to his corner of the room, muttering under his breath. Sanders went back to his locker, quietly finishing his post-game routine. But the damage was done. Everyone in that room knew they had just witnessed a breaking point. Word spread fast. Within hours, unnamed team sources were telling media outlets that the Browns were holding an emergency meeting with front office staff, coaches, and legal advisors. The words disciplinary action and team conduct policy began popping up in headlines. And it wasn't just Cleveland's beat writers who were on the story. National reporters from ESPN to NFL Network were suddenly digging for details. What made the incident even more alarming for the organization was the possibility of legal trouble. If the reports of physical contact proved true, Gabriel could be facing more than just a suspension. The NFL's personal conduct policy doesn't leave much wiggle room for on-record altercations, especially between teammates in a professional setting. By morning, the locker room clash had become the talk of the league. Former players weighed in on social media, some defending Gabriel's competitive fire, others calling his actions career suicide. Fans were split down the middle. A portion rallied behind Sanders as the future of the franchise, while others accused the rookie of being overhyped and disrespectful to veterans. But one thing was crystal clear. This wasn't going to be contained behind closed doors. The Browns had gone from a feel-good preseason storyline to the center of an NFL controversy overnight. And for a rookie who had just delivered the best game of his short pro career, Sanders was now facing a new kind of pressure, not from defensive lines or blitz packages, but from the storm brewing within his own team. The real question wasn't whether the Browns could win games anymore. It was whether they could survive each other. The Browns front office didn't wait for the dust to settle, they moved fast. By sunrise, head coach Kevin Stefanski, general manager Andrew Berry, and a handful of high-ranking executives were locked in a closed-door meeting at team headquarters. Phones were buzzing non-stop. PR teams were drafting statements. Legal advisors were combing through the NFL's personal conduct policy line by line. The initial question wasn't just what happened, it was how much of it was already out there. And the answer? Too much. Between player whispers to reporters, cryptic social media posts from people connected to the team, and one mysterious video clip circulating in private group chats, the Browns were staring down a PR disaster. Inside that meeting, sources say there were two camps. One group wanted to suspend Dylan Gabriel, immediately send a message that no matter your status or tenure, this kind of behavior wouldn't be tolerated. The other argued for patience, warning that if the team acted too fast without confirming every detail, they could face a backlash from the players' union. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders was trying to keep his head down. Cameras were already parked outside his apartment building, reporters shouting questions about the locker room incident. His agent was fielding calls from national networks offering primetime interviews. Sanders declined them all. In private, he told those close to him he didn't want to be the story, he just wanted to play football. But in the NFL, when controversy finds you, you are the story. By mid-afternoon, the league office had reached out to the Browns. The message was simple: cooperate fully, share all available footage, and prepare for an independent review. That review would determine if the incident violated the NFL's conduct code and whether Gabriel could face a suspension or fine from the league itself. Fans were already taking sides online. Hashtags like Team Shedeur and Stand with Gabriel were trending. Talk radio shows were flooded with calls debating whether the rookie had shown maturity or whether he had somehow provoked the situation. The fact that Sanders' stat line from the game, 21 completions, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions, had already gone viral, only added fuel to the fire. To some, he was the future of the franchise. To others, he was a rookie who needed to earn his place before making headlines. But perhaps the most telling sign of where things were headed came from the players themselves. Several Browns teammates quietly unfollowed Gabriel on social media within 24 hours. A few even liked posts praising Sanders' composure. In the hyper-connected world of professional sports, those subtle moves speak louder than official press releases. As day turned to night, the Browns released a carefully worded statement. "We are aware of the incident that occurred following our most recent game. We are gathering information and will address the matter internally in accordance with team and league policies. No names, no details, but everyone knew exactly who they were talking about. The fallout was no longer just about a locker room argument, it was about the future of the Cleveland Browns quarterback position. And with training camp still weeks from its end, the battle for that starting role had officially turned into the most watched drama in the NFL. 3 days. That's how long the Browns held their silence. 3 days of speculation, leaked sources, and endless sports talk shows dissecting every second of Sanders' post-game footage. Every delay from the team felt like gasoline on a fire that was already burning out of control. Then, without warning, the Browns dropped the bomb. A hastily called press conference was announced for 11 a.m. local time. Cameras filled the media room. Beat reporters, national NFL insiders, and even a few retired players turned analysts crowded in, all waiting for answers. When head coach Kevin Stefanski walked in, the usual calm in his voice was replaced by a clipped, no-nonsense tone. He didn't waste time. After reviewing all available information regarding the incident following our last game, the Cleveland Browns have decided to suspend Gabriel for conduct detrimental to the team. This suspension is effective immediately and will last 2 weeks. The room went silent for half a beat, then erupted in questions. Who started it? What exactly was said? Did Shedeur Sanders play a role? Stefanski wouldn't bite. His only elaboration was that the decision was made with the best interest of the team and the season in mind. But outside that room, the interpretation was obvious. Shedeur Sanders had just been handed a golden opportunity. With Gabriel gone for the next 2 weeks, Sanders was no longer just the promising rookie. He was the Q-bone for the foreseeable future. That afternoon, practice told the story. Sanders took every first-team rep, his throws snapping through the air like he had something to prove. His teammates responded. The huddle was louder. The pace was faster. Even the defense, usually quick to trash talk, seemed to respect the young quarterback's command. Fans noticed too. Attendance at open practices jumped. Merchandise sales for Sanders jerseys spiked overnight. Talk shows that once questioned if he was ready now debated if Gabriel would even get his job back. Privately, though, Sanders knew the next 2 games would define everything. In the NFL, opportunity doesn't just knock, it tests you under the brightest lights, and it rarely comes twice. If he played well, this could be the start of a new Browns era. If he stumbled, Gabriel's return could slam that door shut. Meanwhile, Gabriel's camp wasn't staying quiet. A cryptic Instagram story appeared on his account, a photo of his cleats captioned, "They'll remember who built this." It disappeared within an hour, but not before screenshots flooded Twitter. To some, it was a warning shot. To others, it was a sign that the quarterback room's tension hadn't gone anywhere. The countdown was on. In less than a week, Sanders would take the field as the Browns starter, not in a preseason warm-up, but in a nationally televised game with millions watching. And for the first time in years, Cleveland wasn't just hoping for a win. They were hoping for a statement. The night sky over First Energy Stadium was electric, not from the weather, but from anticipation. Every seat was filled, every fan on edge. The stadium wasn't just buzzing, it was vibrating with the weight of expectation. This wasn't just another game. This was Shedeur Sanders' first official start for the Cleveland Browns. From the moment he stepped onto the field, Sanders carried himself differently. He wasn't smiling, waving, or soaking in the lights. His helmet was on, chin strap buckled tight, eyes locked in. You could feel it. He wasn't here to survive. He was here to take over. The opening drive set the tone. Facing a 3rd and 8 against one of the league's top pass rushes, Sanders stood tall in the pocket. Pressure collapsed from both sides, but he didn't flinch. He shifted left, reset his feet, and rifled a 22-yard strike to Amari Cooper for the first down. The crowd erupted. That single play told everyone watching, this kid wasn't rattled. Then came the moment that shifted the game and maybe the entire quarterback conversation in Cleveland. Midway through the second quarter, with the Browns trailing 10-3, Sanders orchestrated a drive that felt like a movie script. Quick outs, perfect slants, a 15-yard scramble that had defenders diving for air, and then, on 2nd and goal from the 7, Sanders rolled right, pump-faked, and fired a bullet to David Njoku in the back of the end zone. T-game. By the 4th quarter, it wasn't just about the score, it was about control. Sanders was commanding the offense like a veteran. He was changing protections at the line, pointing out blitzes before they came, and delivering throws with pinpoint accuracy. His stat line kept climbing. Completion after completion, 0 turnovers, and the kind of composure that wins locker rooms. The defining play came with 2 minutes left and the score tied at 20. Backed up on their own 25, the Browns needed a drive to win. Sanders dropped back, scanned the field, and unleashed a 48-yard bomb down the right sideline to Elijah Moore, who hauled it in just before stepping out of bounds. The crowd lost its mind. 3 plays later, the Browns kicked the game-winning field goal. Final score: Browns 23, Panthers 20. Sanders finished with 287 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and one statement heard loud and clear across the NFL: the rookie wasn't just filling in, he was taking the job. In the locker room afterward, Sanders didn't gloat. No celebrations, no chest pounding, just a quiet smile and a handshake for every teammate. But everyone in that room knew what had just happened. The quarterback battle was over. The Browns had their guy. And somewhere, watching from home, Dillon Gabriel had to be wondering, would he ever get that job back? The morning after Sanders' debut win, Cleveland woke up with something it hadn't felt in years: hope. Local headlines didn't just recap the score, they proclaimed "Sanders' era begins" in bold type. Sports talk radio was wall-to-wall Sanders, callers arguing if he was already the best Browns quarterback since Baker Mayfield's playoff run. Social media was even louder. Clips of his 48-yard strike to Elijah Moore were replayed on loop. Former NFL QBs were breaking down his footwork, pointing out how rare it was for a rookie to process reads that quickly. Fans flooded the team store, wiping out the stock of his number 5 jersey before noon. Inside the Browns facility, the mood had shifted. Players who had once been cautiously optimistic about the rookie now carried themselves differently around him. In the locker room, veterans like Joel Bitonio and Myles Garrett publicly praised his poise. Garrett even told reporters, "That kid's not playing like a rookie. He's playing like he's been here 5 years." But with the praise came pressure and whispers. Dillon Gabriel's suspension wasn't over yet, and people wanted to know, was the quarterback battle officially decided? Stefanski refused to give a direct answer. When asked if Sanders was the starter moving forward, he simply said, "Right now, Shedeur gives us the best chance to win." Translation? The job was his as long as he kept winning. Gabriel, meanwhile, was making his presence felt from afar. Another cryptic Instagram story appeared. A slow-motion video of him training alone, captioned, "Not done yet." Within minutes, sports blogs were dissecting it, framing it as a sign of an impending QB controversy. Sanders didn't bite. In press conferences, he deflected every question about Gabriel. "I'm focused on the next game," he said. But those close to him knew he was well aware of the stakes. One bad game could crack the door open for Gabriel's return. The NFL world took notice too. National analysts were debating if Sanders could be the long-term answer in Cleveland. Some were already calling him an early Rookie of the Year candidate. Others warned that the league had a way of figuring out young quarterbacks once they had more film on them. Still, for now, Sanders had the city and maybe the locker room behind him. The Browns' next game was a divisional matchup, the kind of high-stakes environment where legends are made or forgotten. In Cleveland bars that night, fans raised glasses to their new QB, hoping this wasn't just a spark but the start of something real. And somewhere in the team's headquarters, Kevin Stefanski was staring at his depth chart, knowing that every decision from here on out could define the season. The Browns had a win, a leader, and a fan base on fire. But in the NFL, momentum is fragile, and the story of Shedeur Sanders was only just beginning. The dust hadn't even settled from Shedeur Sanders' debut when the reality of the NFL calendar came crashing in. There's no time to bask in glory. The Browns' next opponent? The Pittsburgh Steelers. A primetime divisional showdown under the lights, with playoff implications already looming in Week 2. For Cleveland fans, the matchup is more than just a game. Steelers Week is personal. The history is bitter, the rivalry deep, and the atmosphere guaranteed to be hostile. Sanders will walk into Acrisure Stadium, not as a rookie to be tested, but as the quarterback to be hunted. Mike Tomlin's defense is known for disguising blitzes, baiting young QBs into mistakes, and making even seasoned veterans second-guess themselves. This isn't going to be a welcome party, it's going to be a gauntlet. Inside the Browns locker room, the coaches know it. Game film sessions are laser-focused on pressure packages, edge rush tendencies, and the chess match that will happen at the line of scrimmage. Sanders will have to be sharper, faster, and even more composed than he was in his debut. The margin for error? Razor thin. And hanging in the background is the Dillon Gabriel question. His suspension will end soon. If Sanders stumbles even once, the calls for a quarterback change could grow louder. The media will pounce, fans will debate, and the locker room could split. That's the cold truth of the NFL. Today's hero can be tomorrow's headline. Sanders knows it too. People close to him say he's doubling down on preparation, extra film sessions, more time in the weight room, private throwing drills after practice. He's not just playing to win games, he's playing to secure his future in Cleveland. Meanwhile, the league is starting to take notice. Defensive coordinators are already studying his tape, looking for tendencies to exploit. Will he lean too heavily on his first read? Can he be forced out of rhythm with exotic blitzes? The rookie mystique only lasts so long before the league starts throwing haymakers back. And then there's the bigger picture. If Sanders can pull off another win, especially against a division rival on the road, the Browns will be 2-0 for the first time in years. Momentum will build. Playoff talk will creep in. The city will start believing, really believing that this season could be different. But if he falters? The questions, the doubts, the whispers about Gabriel will come roaring back. That's the unforgiving reality of being an NFL quarterback. Every week is an audition. Every throw is a resume builder or a strike against you. So, as Cleveland turns its eyes to Pittsburgh, one question looms over the entire franchise. Is Shedeur Sanders just a spark in the dark? Or is he the fire that can light the Browns' way to something greater? Either way, we're about to find out.